Your concern is that you're dealing with a crazy man here.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. You don't want to test him?
I wouldn't challenge him. I wouldn't feed his fury. I would starve him out. Now, look, I'm your legal and constitutional guy, not your military guy, so I might not be the right person to be asking this, but I happen to be sitting here with you, waiting to come on and discuss Loretta Lynch, and now this comes out. But I was startled at the president's language. Sometimes the president gets his message across with exaggeration. Everybody knows that. He must be exaggerating, because if he literally means what he says, then he's talking about using nuclear weapons, and there'd be no place for that. There'd be no indication for it, and it would be horrific to our allies in the area, particularly South Korea.
Judge, isn't this a war of words, in that, you got North Korea out there saying a whole bunch of stuff. You've got not just the president, but deputies of the president, Dr. Gorka, for example, yesterday, and Nikki Haley even, making some media rounds, trying to indicate to North Korea, this is serious, and we mean business. Right,
and the way you do that is through diplomatic channels and through what Ambassador Haley did at the UN. I wouldn't fight fire with fire. And though I respect the president and respect his judgment, the language was so over the top that it will encourage this crazy nut in North Korea rather than deter him.
Well, Kellyanne Conway said his comments, and this is what we were referencing earlier, were both strong and obvious. It is kind of obvious, right?
But they can't be literally accurate, because if we are going to use greater force and power than the world has ever seen, he means greater than Nagasaki and Hiroshima, and it can't possibly mean that. He's not going to kill innocent North Koreans. It's one thing to take out their military capability. It's another thing to take out Kim Jong-il. It's quite a third thing to take out the innocent people who've been victimized.
Okay, so let's go through our options right now. And again, you're not a military guy, but you've obviously spent a lot of time thinking about this. What are we looking at? In other words, you can go in from a military perspective and actually strike.
Well, the president has intelligence, which you and I don't. And intelligence, meaning CIA, intelligence assets, can tell him how serious this guy is, how close he is to making a decision like this, the capability of his weaponry. I mean, is this just stuff that goes up in the air and goes down into the ocean, or can it really hit Alaska or Los Angeles? So intelligence is presumably advising the president of that, and he wisely is not sharing that with the public. These are military secrets, and they are legitimate, lawful secrets. But I don't know why he would try and provoke this guy, unless, as Barry Goldwater once said, I would pray for provocation so that I could wipe the enemy out.
Ooh, well, that's an interesting way of looking at it, I guess. But perhaps it's just as simple as, you threaten me, I'm going to threaten you, and maybe you should listen to our threats, because guess what? We got a way bigger military than you guys do.
I think he can dial this guy back with a phone call to President Xi of China.
You may have more faith in China right now than some. We'll see whether or not they enforce the sanctions. It's good that they signed up for them, but whether or not they enforce them is another thing.
They usually don't work. Usually the little people suffer rather than the party leadership.